Joe Malloy, Post Falls City Council. Lived in North Idaho my entire life. I keep saying over and over again, if I find a better place to live, I'm moving, and here I am. So, urban renewal, like so many things, property tax, like so many things that government touches, is just horribly complicated. There's nothing intuitive or sensible about it. Me personally, I hate taxes. I hate them. I don't like paying them. I don't like having money taken out of my check. I don't like having to pay rent for my own property. Property taxes in particular, I think, are antithesis to liberty as a whole. But there's a pragmatic side too, is that's what we're stuck with. According to the laws of the state, we have two sources of revenue. It's property tax and fees. That's all we got. So urban renewal has, in Post Falls, I think, has done a decent job. We've had some, well, we win some, we lose the rest. They come at it with the right mindset. We do have, as a disclaimer, almost all of the urban renewal districts in Post Falls existed before I was on the council. There have been two new ones implemented since: the technology mixed urban renewal zone and the new city center zone. The new city center zone I had to recuse myself from because I have family that owns a lot of property within it. Even though I would have voted against it, I recused myself because of that time. The technology zone I supported because one of the big pushes for urban renewal, particularly in Post Falls, is to attract sustainable, livable wage jobs. That district has existing proponents. They have a plan, they have patent spending, all these sorts of things. Of course, a lot of that's pretty secret because of trade secrets and so forth, so it's got a special code name and all those things. I don't even know who it is, but if that proponent was to fall apart, then I would vote to close that district because then there's no purpose for it anymore. As far as the districts that have existed, there has been a very set plan. Here's the projects that should go into it. Those projects get built. If there's more increment taken in than there are projects to fill, then that money has been refunded on several occasions by the Urban Renewal District back to the taxing districts. So they've kept it as honest as they can. There have been some really good successes. The River Point district, for example, is a perfect example of that. There was not a whole lot there, some falling down barns and warehouses and so forth, and now there's a lot of businesses there doing really good jobs, and that's a great success. The downtown district was kind of the opposite. Not a whole lot happened. Some roads got punched in. It still collected money because the property's going to gain value all by itself, which I think is something that ought to be looked at. But anyway, nothing happened. We closed it. Yay. The Center Point district was one of those with good intentions that didn't pan out. That was intended to be industrial. There was very specific projects in that one, and for whatever reason, no suitors came. So we got, some retail level jobs in Cabela's and Walmart and so forth. The big push about 10 years ago was being told by the proponents we need rooftops to attract more activity. We need rooftops. So Woodbridge went in, residential development. The P&Z had denied it. The city council overturned it. This is before me. And rooftops went in and nothing happened. Recently, more rooftops went in and nothing happened. So the value of the property has gone up, but in my belief, houses would have been built there anyway without urban renewal. So I would consider that one a loss. Fortunately, it closes in 2022, and we're just going to let it die. So in general, urban renewal, the whole concept of it, I'm not for it. It's not tax neutral at all. It does raise your taxes, as Dan already explained pretty thoroughly. And it's often funds city projects on the backs of county taxpayers. I'm still kind of bent that I had to help contribute $40 million to turn a park into a park, build a library and some of the most expensive real estate in the state, and I had no say about it. But what do you do? I can't do anything about that. But the pragmatic part is that there's competition for a lot of these, for businesses and so forth. In Washington, it's okay just to go ahead and say, hey, X business, you don't have to pay any taxes if you come to Libby Lake. In Idaho, thank God that's illegal. But without any tools, then it's, with Washington being right there, that's where everything's going to go. So the only legal tool that we have in Idaho is urban renewal. And as Dan explained, actually in Post Falls, we don't front any money for anything. The developer has to front the money for the infrastructure and so forth, and then as the increment goes up, we pay them back. And if there's more increment than there is to pay back, then it gets given back to the taxpayer. So the technology mix zone, for example, personally, I was pretty torn on that one. Would it be built without urban renewal? Well, if Washington wasn't right next door, and if Ignite CDA wasn't on the other side, then probably, yeah, it's a great spot for it. There's lots of water, there's cheap power, there's the whole thing. The Post Falls city government's easy to work with, for the most part. But since there's that competition for business, then without it, probably not. And those are gonna be some good, high-paying jobs, assuming the whole thing pans out. So I supported that one, because that's what I believe urban renewal is for, particularly in Post Falls. Going back to the complexities of property taxes, everybody, especially residential folks, are really feeling more and more the burden of that now. Because the value of residential properties has been going up far faster than the value of commercial properties. And the way property taxes work is a city, or any taxing district, sets a budget. We say, okay, we need 12 million bucks. And then that goes off to the county, who assesses the value of all the properties and divvies that out depending on the value of any particular properties. So if the commercial values aren't going up as fast as the residential values are, then a greater portion of that $12 million pie gets shifted over to the residents, and less of it gets shifted to commercial. It has happened in the opposite direction. During the recession, residential values fell faster than commercial did, so the burden shifted more to commercial and less to residential. Regardless, it's goofy, and it needs to be fixed, but that's what we have to deal with right now. But going back to the technology zone, that will, unless something goes horribly awry, attract more commercial industrial type businesses, which will remove some of that property tax burden off of Post Falls, which is heavily residential, and shift it more over to commercial properties. So that's a reason to support it. So it's a mixed bag. I don't know if I'm giving you a straight answer here, but that's kind of my thought process behind it, and we'll be here to take questions later. So.